Hey everyone, welcome to the Next Play podcast. I'm Ben. I'm an angel investor, former founder, and most recently spent the past 5 years at Notion. Excited to have you all here with us today. We're bringing on great people to talk about their career moves, picking companies to start and join, behind the scenes of the decision making, and what they've learned. And we have Peter Yang here today with us. Welcome.
Glad to be here, Ben. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll just give a quick background on Peter. So Peter is a product lead at Roblox. He cares about crafting quality products, and he's worked at Meta, Twitch, Reddit, and Roblox. And he also has a newsletter with 90,000 people where he writes about AI, product, and creators. So I want to kind of start way back. Before you were a product manager, product leader, you started off in product marketing at Facebook and Microsoft. How did you even get into tech?
I was one of those kids in college who didn't really know what they wanted to do. So I kind of just followed the herd and became a management consultant for a couple of years. Then was like, I really don't like making slide decks at 2 a.m. in the morning. So I really wanted to get into tech. It seems like I wanted to actually build products instead of just like, coming as a consultant. So I remember applying for Google, after trying to leave consulting, and then I basically got rejected. And that was like, okay, now what I'm going to do. And then I decided to get an MBA to try to stack my credentials. It's not what I would recommend people do right now. We can talk more about that. But anyway, I got my MBA and then was lucky enough to join Microsoft as a product marketing manager. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got into tech.
Got it. And so you were product marketing manager for a few years. And how did you transition from being a product marketing manager to being a product manager?
It was really hard. At Facebook, I tried to transition all 3 years that I was there. And for some reason or another, couldn't make it through the interview process. It shouldn't be so hard to become a product manager, because it's not like product managers have any crazy unique skill or like any kind of like super hardcore technical training. For some reason, I feel like the role is just very hard to get into. I think it's because like for every PM, there's like, 8 to 10 engineers in the industry, right? So it took me a long time to transition. I was finally able to transition because I had built a bunch of expertise working on live video and creators at Facebook. And I was able to use that experience to get a PM role at Twitter, even though I didn't really have any real PM experience.
Got it. And I guess when folks are reaching out to you asking like how to break into a PM role, what do you tell them?
Yeah. So this is like one of my hot takes, I guess, or it really shouldn't be a hot take, but like there's this kind of like this factory of like PM prep, right? You like spend 50 hours preparing PM product sense interviews. You go and get an MBA. Maybe you need like a CS degree to become a PM. Like all this stuff can help, but at the end of the day, what a PM does is like they're trying to build products that people actually want, that people maybe will actually pay for. So why not just skip all that bullshit and just like start building now? And it's easier to do that than ever. You can build a software product using AI. You can just build a newsletter, even just building a newsletter or like a creator product, or just putting something out there that people actually want to consume or buy or read is like, to me at least, as a hiring manager, much stronger signal than if you went and got an MBA or like you got some PM certificate or like did something like that. Like stop playing the game and actually just like do the real thing. Do the real job.
Yeah, I love that. And honestly, I think you can probably apply that to almost any role. Like if you're applying as an engineer or applying as a designer or even like on the go-to-market side and you're creating value, creating content, creating a product before you're applying, like it just puts you, I think, in such a better position to be able to get into whatever role you're going for.
Yeah, I think, people who are younger think like, I have to get permission to build great products. And like, I'm here to tell you that you don't. You in fact, it's probably easier for you to just build a great product yourself than try to align a bunch of cross-functional stakeholders and build a great product. So just go off and do it. Just do it. And
yeah,
then you have that resume and track record that people want.
Totally. That's actually how I ended up joining Notion. I built Notion's a template gallery for Notion before Notion had one. And it was a tiny team just because I loved the product. And
yeah,
I got to know the team through that. And I always tell people when they're trying to break into some company that they're really excited about, like just build something, show value, create a Loom video talking about their product, make some intros for them, bring them some customers, like really anything, just to like even just create some signal that, helps you stand out more than just like a resume.
Yeah, because most people just like spray and pray the resume. Most people are mercenaries. They actually don't care about the company beyond like the brand name. So just taking a little extra effort to show that you care. Even for like really popular companies like Notion, like the founders really value customer feedback, and like if you put some extra effort in, like they will actually it's much better to go through them than to try to go through some sort of recruiter. Like a recruiter would just screen you out because the recruiter is like, oh, this person doesn't have founder resume, doesn't have PM experience, so let me screen him out. But the founder actually cares. Like I have a funny story too. Like I actually talked to Ivan. Like I complained about Notion on Twitter, on Twitter, and then I just got a DM from Ivan, the founder. It was like, hey, can I talk to you? Like, let me talk to you about your feedback. And like that is like really impressive to me. Just some random person like me complaining about stuff, and he actually wants to talk to me. So you can definitely like you said, use that to get jobs at companies that you actually care about.
Yeah, I love that. He's always done that, by the way. Even I think a 10-person company, when it was a 500-person company, 700-person company, I think really incredible. So I'm curious, just about your company picking, because you've been at some really iconic companies at Twitch, Credit Karma, Reddit, now Roblox. What is your evaluation process when you're thinking about joining one of these companies?
Yeah, so I've worked at a lot of great companies. I think I got kind of lucky, and I think there's also a lesson here. I think if I reflect on my career, I probably was too impatient and jumped around companies too much. Probably should have stayed at companies that I loved longer. So, for example, at Twitch, when I was there, I had a really great time building for the streamers, working with my team, and we were like making a big impact. But I was impatient to kind of become a PM manager and like kind of do that stuff. So I decided to leave, which in hindsight, I think was a mistake, because it's very rare to find a company where you love your team, you love the product, you love the mission, and you have a great management chain. That's like very rare. So if you have that, you should really try to make it work and try to invest in the role, and have a little patience. Like I think one of my mistakes is like even to this day, like I'm generally a pretty impatient person. So yeah, so I think if you're in a good situation, you should stay at a company. But another thing I'll say is that a lot of people, when they apply to companies, they look at they look at their comp, they look at the brand name, look at the title that they'll get. And those things are important, but it's very important to actually look at the company's values, because the company's values, if they're real, right? If it's like a legit company, are basically how your day-to-day and how you operate, right? So like a company like Notion or like Figma, for example, they really value high craft, great products. A company like Meta, when I was there, they do value craft to a certain extent, but it's really about having impact and growing the numbers. A company like Roblox really values respecting the community and taking the long view. So having a plan and a vision of where you want to go. So those values are really important. Like you should try to pick companies whose corporate values match your personal values, because then you can actually showcase your superpowers and have a great time working there. If you pick a company that is counter to your personal values, then you're not going to have a good time.
Yeah, I love that. How do you figure out what those company values are before actually being there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they have a marketing website, right? Where like they talk about here's our values. But during the interview process, you want to interview to get a job, but you also want to understand the values. So like, you should ask questions like, it looks like Roblox has a value of taking a long view. Can you give an example of that? Or maybe can you give an example of where that value has, gone too far, right? Try to get real examples from people to understand if the value is real or not. Like a lot of companies say they're customer obsessed or like they're user first, right? But, really a few companies like Stripe and some of these other companies, they actually embody the value. Like you can tell, like they invite the customer to their all hands meetings. The PMs are on Twitter all the time talking to customers. You can tell that they actually really value the stuff. Yeah.
So you think asking essentially like the hiring manager and folks who work there, like if they actually live by those values, and then, based on that, see if there's some truth in it?
Yeah, I think you should ask them and try to understand, try to suss it out from the interview process. And if you do get the offer, like obviously don't just accept the offer, like really have a bunch of follow-up conversations have some real talk with people who are there or people who were there about are these values real or not. So I think taking a job is like a really big decision. Like it's probably just behind like getting married and to the right person and like having kids and maybe living in the right place. Probably other than those three, like picking a job is like probably one of the biggest decisions that you can make. So you gotta be really careful about this. If you're able to kind of be a little bit picky, you gotta make sure that you join a company that actually matches their values.
Totally. And I guess like on the flip side, are there red flags that you're looking for when you're thinking about a company to join?
The red flags, some of the red flags are like during the interview process, the really great companies care about giving you a great candidate experience, even if they have a really high bar. Like even if they'll reject you, they still give you a really great candidate experience. But if you talk to people who like just seem to not give a shit about you or about the role, then that to me is like a big red flag. If there's like some shuffling going on, if like you start the interview process and then halfway through, like a bunch of people are not your interviewers anymore, that is a red flag to me. And if people just keep on talking about good things and not bad things and not being like honest, that's also a red flag. You know?
Yeah, I think those are great things to look for.
Yeah.
Very important, and probably don't want to only just trust like Glassdoor reviews, because I think it's not necessarily always the full truth.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I guess with Roblox, what made you want to join that company?
I really love building products with the customer community, and I think I'm good at it. And I've also spent a large part of my career, at Twitch, working with streamers and in the kind of gaming industry, right? So and also I really think Roblox like is teaching a lot of kids how to code and how to build their first apps. And to me, that is like pretty inspirational. So for all those reasons, and the fact that I think Roblox has a very high bar for talent, like their interview process is really, it's kind of annoying. Like it's very long, and they're kind of very picky. Made it seem like a great company to join.
Yeah, can you talk a little bit about what the interview process is like? I'm curious now.
Depends on the role. So, but for PMs, like they go through, you have to make a presentation about your past experience and what jumps out, and you have to present to a panel, and then you have to do a loop. And maybe that's pretty standard, but then you have to do an executive loop. So you have to talk a bunch of VPs afterwards to understand like culture fit. It's like a multi-stage process. And I think it served Roblox well because the process kind of forced us to grow a little bit slower. So it's not like, we just double or triple in size. And as a result, with downturn recently, we really hadn't had to do anything.
Got it. Cool. Interesting. And do you remember what your first few weeks at the company were like?
First few weeks, I think were just kind of like understanding what's going on, Yeah. So like meeting a lot of people, understanding the space, like asking for strategy decks or like roadmaps to understand like what the current plans are. And also I like to talk to real customers in the first few weeks. So like asking our developer relations team or like asking folks to introduce me to Roblox creators so I can actually have conversation with them. And usually the question I ask is like, okay, how do you like building on Roblox? Can you walk me through like how you build on Roblox today, or like how you grow your game? And, talk about like all the pain points, all the frustrations that you have. Just try to understand. So especially for the first month, you don't want to come in and like try to dictate what's going on. You want to just understand what is going on. And maybe you can also add some value here and there by like, doing dumb stuff like taking meeting notes or like stuff that people don't want to do, but actually clearly add value. Yeah.
Got it. And I guess now you've been there for almost 2 years. What do you think Roblox does really well? Like what are the maybe few things that you've seen them do differently that have been really impressive?
Going back to taking the long view, right? The founder, Dave, has been working on this for over a decade. So that is really taking a long view. In the beginning, it was just kind of like a toy, and it wasn't very clear this whole thing is going to work. So that is very impressive to me, especially as someone who has, like I said, moved around too much. The other thing is the community is really amazing. you have these folks who started by playing games on Roblox, and then they move to building games on Roblox. And some of these games are incredibly successful. Like they have millions of users. When I go to the local public library, when I see the computer lab, more often than not, there's like a bunch of kids playing Roblox, right? So I think, yeah, some of these are like really successful games and real businesses. And you talk about creators, like, these are creators. They kind of like made it their own way. They don't have to take a corporate job. Some of them don't even have to go to college, and they're just kind of like building their game and building their business. So that's really impressive. Yeah.
It seems like you really like working at community-oriented companies. I mean, you've worked at Roblox, Twitch, Reddit. Like, what is it about kind of building together with a community that just get like is
Yeah.
is there something that really gets you excited about that?
I think like I mentioned, I'm a pretty impatient person, so I need that rapid customer feedback loop. Like I need to be able to get feedback from customer within the next day or within the next hour, even. So I don't think I'm a great PM if you just like, okay, hey, go off and build some crazy bet in a silo for a year, and then hopefully have it work out. Like that's not the way that I like to work. I like to really kind of build relationships with the customers. By building relationships, you feel empathy towards them, right? You kind of put yourself in their shoes, and you kind of feel their frustrations. And if you have community, and by community, it can be a online community, it can be just meeting up in real life. It can just be like a DM thread, like that. That's a small community too. But if you have all these channels of customer feedback coming at you, it's very hard to not feel empathy, right? Because they're going to be complaining to you all the time, for better or for worse. So it's very hard not to walk in their shoes. And if you walk in their shoes, then you're able to, like, we talk about product sense. Like, it's not some crazy framework. It's like just walking their shoes, understanding the business, and then having that spidey sense of like what they actually really care about. That will help you prioritize the next product in your roadmap.
Got it. I mean, and so when you were at Reddit, I saw one of the projects you worked on was like pioneering a community first way to build products at the company. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little about what that looked like?
Yeah, so like I wouldn't say pioneer because like if you talk to a founder, they're like, "What the hell?" Like I do this every day. But like somehow in the corporate PM world, like this stuff gets lost. Like we're just talking about talking to customers here. Like somehow in the corporate PM world, like over half the PMs don't even talk to customers. It's actually insane. I think it's crazy. So it's not pioneer. I'm just bringing it back to the roots of what a founder would do, right? So what that was like is like I read it. The moderators, you know, they the moderators are really the people who actually manage these subreddits, and they do all this work for free, and because they really care, they really want to make the subreddit great. So it makes sense to try to build a relationship with these moderators to understand their pain points and to kind of like work with them to drive adoption for whatever product that you're trying to launch, right? So it's just that. Like, and by talking to these moderators, I'm able to also understand pain points beyond my product because, like, the product my product might not be the most important thing they're frustrated with. They're frustrated with a bunch of other things. So you also kind of become the voice of the customer in general in the companies that you work at, which you got to do it in a respectful manner, but if you can share this feedback internally, I think that's valued as well.
Were you at the company when they went public and had all the protests?
When they went public, I don't think I was there anymore. When the blackouts happened, no, I was not there anymore. Yeah, no.
That must have been an interesting time for folks working at the company.
Yeah, it's really tough to be the CEO of Reddit. Like, it's a very vocal community, and they will give you they're not going to sugarcoat their opinions. So it's kind of like a tough balance. Of course, you do have to balance what the community wants with actually growing the business, right? Like now Reddit has a great advertising platform, and if you ask the users, they're like, no, I don't want ads. But the company has to make money in some way, shape, or form. So yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure for operators too, it's not easy. Like not just the founder, like just having, all the noise, not always positive, sometimes negative.
Yep.
How did you actually land that Reddit?
How did I land at Reddit? I think I know some folks there who I worked with or like who knew me. and they're like, hey, let's, Peter's a great PM. Let's try to bring him on board. So it's really through, I guess, it's really through connections. I think that's actually how most people find jobs these days, through either connections or warm leads.
Yeah, yeah, totally valid. And I mean, when you were talking to them, did you think about some of those criteria? What we spoke about before in terms of like evaluating the company. Like, what did that look like when you were kind of considering joining?
Well, first of all, I was like an avid user of Reddit, like I'm sure many people. Uh, Personally, the platform has given me a ton of value, from everything from, like stuff like, trying to figure out what movie to watch or what game to play, to more deeper stuff like, being a new dad and trying to figure out how to raise my kids. It's just such a fantastic platform. So I love the product, and I think it was a good fit for, again, what I like to do, which is like talk to customers, talk to community, and yeah, like it was one of the few, and I think back then it also had a lot of potential. It was like, you know, for the amount of time that I used Reddit, it felt like the user base was too small. It felt like there was a lot of room to grow the platform. So those are some reasons why.
Totally makes sense. And I mean, you've done an awesome job building large audience with your newsletter and on social. What do you think has attracted people to kind of following your work and content over the years?
So I think I'm pretty bad at picking a niche, like just talk about one thing for forever. But I think what stands out about my content is I like to get straight to the point. I don't like to write like 5,000 words. And same thing at work. I like to get straight to the point. So I try to make my content as tactical and as practical as possible. Like if you read something from me, there should be something that you can take away and action on right away. Because there's so much content out there these days, and people don't have time to consume all of this stuff. So whether it's like some tips on using AI as a product manager, or like how to manage your time better, or like, what strategy really means, like I try to make it as practical as possible through examples, through like, step by steps and other stuff. I think people really appreciate that.
Is there like a process behind the scenes for all this content creation you have going on?
Yeah, there's definitely a process, because otherwise I won't be able to survive with like a full-time job and also kids.
I'm curious. Yeah.
Yeah. So when I write a newsletter post, I usually have some idea of what people want to hear about next. So like, for example, right now, a lot of the content that seems to resonate with people is like my AI guides on like, prompts that product managers can use, or like how do you create content using AI. I don't want to just become another AI newsletter, but that seems to be the content people really care about. So then I start brainstorming, okay, what topics can I write about when it comes to AI? And what topics am I personally curious about exploring? I think one of the great things about content creation is like, it kind of forces you, like you're on the hook every week to publish something, right? So you have to learn something new. Like you can't just like be happy with what you have right now. You have to learn something. Same thing with the podcast. Like you have to go talk to someone that's interesting out there. So it kind of forces you to learn and to kind of network with other people, which I really like. But anyway, going back to my process, what typically I pick a topic, I do a bunch of research. I use AI tools extensively, like Perplexity, to do a bunch of research, or maybe I talk to a bunch of other people who know about this topic, and then I put together like a quick outline, usually like 3 things I want to talk about, and then I try to draft a first draft as quickly as possible. Sometimes I would actually go outside and walk around and talk to myself, and then that would be my first draft. Because one of the things about being a good writer is like you can kind of write like you talk, like as opposed to getting too complicated, right? So I make a first draft, and then I spend a lot of time like editing it and making it great. And also sometimes, I ask AI like, hey, here's kind of my first draft. Like, can you give me some, what are some gaps? Or can you help me come up with a variation using this prompt that I have, like with all my past newsletter posts, like my best examples. So yeah, anyway, I use AI to edit it, and then I schedule it, and then, put some tweets around it, and there you have it. Yeah.
Yeah, behind the scenes. So how has kind of having this, large audience helped you in your career so far? Like, have you seen this? Has this helped with like introductions on the companies you've joined, or in other ways?
So I always found jobs through like traditional means, like, through like some introduction or just applying to it. but it's made me feel more in control of my career, right? Because it's like a lot of the PMs I talk to just feel like another cog in the wheel. Like they're just kind of like, no one knows about them other than inside the company. So you're kind of just like trying to climb the corporate ladder. But I think having this audience has allowed me to meet some really great people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. Like, CPOs or like, senior folks or just really great PMs at companies that I really like, uh, Figma, Notion, Coda, these companies that actually really value building great products, right? So I think if I ever do have to look for another job at some point, knowing these people, will definitely help. Yeah, and people know me, like people know what Peter is all about, right? So it's not like, they have to read a resume to understand what I care about. I think the people who follow me know what I care about. So they can decide if I'm a good fit for a job or not. Yeah.
Yeah. Is the dream one day to like go full time on that, or do you like having this as like a kind of thing on the side?
I think that's a good question. I enjoy doing the creation stuff. I think if I was full time on this right now, I'll feel a lot more pressure on the creation stuff, and that might make me do stuff that I don't enjoy as much. Like I don't know, like trying to teach courses on a weekend or something like that, right? So I think right now at least it's kind of crazy, but having this balance is good because I also enjoy just like working with my engineers and working with the team to build great products and having that building a great product, learning about it and then be able to tweet or like get something off my chest about it is a pretty good loop right now. Let's see if this is sustainable or not. But so far, so good. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think, those seem like two really different things. Like we're working on that Roblox product versus your own newsletter and social, like very, very different things. But they probably work very well together as like a flywheel.
Yeah. There's definitely a flywheel there. I mean, it does make me more tired, but yeah, there's definitely a flywheel there.
Yeah. What does your day to day look like? How do you actually manage this with your family and, having your newsletter and your job?
Yeah. Good question. So I wake up pretty early. I wake up at like 6 a.m. To like, as a parent, I'm not sure if you're a parent or not, but like as a parent, really, the time you have to actually think clearly is like, in the mornings, like before noon, or at least that's for me. Like after lunch, like my brain starts having a fog, and I can't actually do creative work anymore, like serious work. So I try to wake up early to write or like do my creation stuff. And then I try to do even at work, I try to do like the real thinking work, like what we're gonna build next, or like some difficult problem. I try to do it in the morning, and the afternoon is for meetings or like lower key work, like maybe firing off a meme or something. Yeah, so I try to balance that way. And also, I mean, I have a bunch of help at home, like people helping me with the kids, and also I've been able to find some help online for creator stuff. Like I don't edit my own videos. I have a producer, and I have this person, this assistant helping me, um, you know, do some research and edit my posts. So it's still a lot of work, but that's kind of how I found it. Actually, I'm running a post about this right now, where just makes it more practical. If you're feeling overwhelmed about your job or like about trying to do a bunch of stuff like me, what you should do is like you should just like make a list of all the tasks that you did over the past week and count the number of hours for each task. And then you should also like have a try to label what the impact of each task is towards your goal. Like, is your goal to grow revenue for your business or like growing your career or something? Try to just give like 1 to 10, like a score, right? Then you divide the impact score with the time commitment to get like the impact to time ratio. And then once you have that, then what you should do is you should figure out if you can eliminate, simplify, automate with AI, or dedicate to someone else. You just go through their tasks and try to do that, right? So, for example, like I did this exercise and I realized I was spending a ton of time just like doom scrolling social media. So now I'm not necessarily succeeding, but I'm trying to not open Twitter other than like, at night where, maybe I open for 30 minutes and just respond to some tweets. Another thing I found was I was spending a ton of time really editing transcripts from my interviews. And the impact is not that much, right? Because like a lot of people just listen to the video. They don't actually read the transcript. So I'm trying to delegate that or trying to use AI to automate some of the stuff so I can spend more time doing the stuff that actually matters, which is like writing my newsletter or like stuff to do my job, right? So yeah, so I encourage people to do that.
I need to do that.
Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna have to do that after this.
yeah, you should.
Yeah. So I mean, it also sounds like you meet a ton of really interesting people and companies and operators. Are there any companies at the moment, or is there a space that you're like most excited about?
Good question. I'm really excited about the democratization of programming. Someone who never had people to sit down and actually like properly learn how to code and build something. Uh, maybe there's some hype here, but I've been seeing a lot of tweets about like how people just use Cursor and Claude to just like completely transform their programming process. So I think the world will be a much better place when anybody cannot just like make YouTube videos or like write newsletters, but anyone can actually make a program that they can use themselves or that they can actually sell to other people. I think it'll be a much better place. So yeah, so I'm really excited about that.
Yeah. Are you using any of these tools yourself?
I've used Claude and Artifacts to build some toy apps, like toy games and little tools. Um, but I've yet to see someone actually like not know programming at all and build something that they actually will use every day or like that other people actually buy. But I think that day and it is coming soon. Maybe like a year from now or something. I think it's coming soon. Yeah.
Yeah. That's gonna be a big step change.
Mhm.
So I've kind of questions, kind of reflecting back on your career, and you've worked at some really great companies. Did you take any breaks in between these roles, and did you ever take time to explore?
No, I haven't really. I've kind of just went from one job to another job. I haven't really taken a long time off. I wish I did. Especially I was younger. I guess I do my exploring with the creator stuff, right? Like the creator stuff makes me talk to different people and learn new things. So that's kind of how I explore. But exploring while doing a full-time job is hard. Yes. Mhm.
So I mean, is there anything you would have done differently looking back beyond, I guess, taking time off? Like anything you would have done, in your career path, you wish you had done differently?
Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely a lot of things that I wish I had done differently. So, for example, when I got rejected from Google, uh, uh, instead of getting my MBA, I wish I just had the audacity to actually go build something and like maybe get some other people, get some co-founders and actually try something. I've always kind of picked the safe path to a certain extent, right? When I was finally made it into tech, I wish, like I mentioned, I had more patience and this, if I was in a good job, a good situation, good manager, not leave. Like, why would you leave that? Just have a little bit more patience. I wish, what else? What else do I wish? Uh, I wish I started the creator stuff earlier. Yeah. Like in the first part of my career, it was just, you know, trying to climb the corporate ladder, trying to, you know, get a fancier title, trying to manage more people. And I wish this is actually a really important message for anyone who's listening. Like there's what society expects from you, which is, if you ask my mom, she'll be like, how many people are you managing? Are you leading a big team? Or like, what is your job title? Right. But you have to really reflect on is that really what you want? You know, because that really matters. Otherwise, you can rise to a job that you actually really don't like, and then you feel stuck. Like there's plenty of people in the Bay Area who have these big jobs, and then they have like a mortgage, and they send their kids to private school, and they're stuck. They can't do something lower key because they have all these big expenses to pay. So I think it's very important to really listen to yourself, to be true to yourself, to try different things, and to follow what gives you energy. Even if it's like society thinks it's like kind of like a waste of time, like just follow what gives you energy. I have a friend, the most successful friend from college. There's a bunch of people who became doctors and like PMs and like engineers, right? But my most successful friend from college is actually a screenwriter, and screenwriting is like very difficult to make it as a screenwriter. But now he's like, making shows on Mark Hamill and like, making these movie scripts. And wow, he's having a really great life. So you really have to be true to what you really love, what you have some talent in, hopefully. And there does need to be some sort of market demand for it. It can't just be like completely random. There's some kind of market demand. But if you have some combination of all three, just go after that. Like listen to yourself. Yeah.
Do you think people should do MBA?
I think the MBA needs to change, like the MBA, people say it's like a good networking opportunity. It's like, oh, you have a Harvard or like MIT on your resume. It's like, wow, did you hire this person? But I think the MBA should really change to giving you practical skills. The best college, in my opinion, is Waterloo from Canada, because they actually force you to have like 8 internships during the college years, right? So you actually get a ton of experience, and as a result, like Waterloo kids are like more in demand than like Harvard kids, in my opinion, in tech at least. So getting practical experience, trying different things is what an MBA should be about, as opposed to sitting in classes doing like these Harvard case studies or something, or like listening to some CEO. Like you should be getting practical experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like so many universities should just copy Waterloo's model. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah, I'm not sure if the kids are super happy, but they're definitely getting great experience.
Eight might be a lot, but maybe
Yeah.
six internships.
Yeah. They're definitely, they're getting, yeah. Like we at Roblox, we love hiring Waterloo kids. Yeah.
It's working. Do you think you would ever be a founder yourself?
That's another thing that I want to talk about. So I've never been a founder, so you take this with a grain of salt. But I feel like people think you either go the corporate path or you go the VC back path, right? You gotta go big or go home, right? You gotta raise a ton of money. There's actually a very viable path to just build a really good business for yourself, maybe with a couple of employees, and do something that you love doing and make, like $1 million or something doing it. Like that's a really good life. You don't have to like have VCs breathing down your neck, and you don't have to like deal with a bunch of bureaucracy in the corporate environment. And I encourage more people to think about that. Like there's this guy, Level CEO, right, who does this. He
Yeah,
appeared on Lex Friedman, and he's doing well. Yeah,
yeah, huge legend.
yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, one last question for you. What would you tell someone early in their career looking to, get into tech? Like what are like 2 or 3 kind of top takeaways that you think they should be thinking about?
So when you have a really smart young person who's really dedicated, my main message is like, stop trying to stack credentials and actually go figure out what you really enjoy doing. You know, and I can say this because I've spent most of my life stacking credentials, right? Like just to brag a little bit, right? Like I went to Ivy League, I went to MIT, I worked at all these companies, and none of the shit actually. Well, I was gonna say none of the shit actually matters. It does matter to a certain extent, but you know, maybe you go to a good college, maybe you get like Meta or someone on your resume for a couple of years to kind of like build that credibility, because that is kind of important, because unfortunately a lot of recruiters and hiring managers do look for like some name brand, right? But after you have that experience, I think it's really important to actually just go figure out what you want to do and go pursue it. And maybe that is sticking at these big companies and like, FANG and like, becoming a VP, right? But maybe it's something else entirely. So kind of like really believe in yourself and like take a bet on yourself and figure out what you want to do, not what your parent or like, your manager or like society wants you to do. Yeah.
I love
Because
that.
like all the people who really succeeded, like, the Notion founder and like people who have like outsized success are not the people who are stacking credentials.
Totally. I mean, Notion founder, I think it was a PM at a small startup for a year before he started Notion. Other
Yeah.
founder was I think it was 18. Figma was an intern at a bunch of companies before. So there's so many examples of folks, who just kind of went on their own path.
Yeah. I mean, you maybe spend like a year or two working at the fan company, get a credibility, and then go do something interesting yourself. And then if it totally fails, then you can, always come back. Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come and chat. And I learned a ton, and I'm sure folks will get a lot out of this. Thanks, Peter.
Okay, cool. Thanks, Ben, for the opportunity.